What was your creepy unexplained experience as a child? I tried cutting grass on the side of a hill on a riding lawnmower when I was about 11 years old. It was too steep of an angle and it rolled over on me. I was completely stuck. After a minute or so of wriggling around I panicked. The next thing I remember is standing up next to the mower after blacking out. I don't know how I got out from under, I assume adrenaline. I had this couch with a couple springs missing. They popped up and my dad removed them from the inside. So you sat really low on that section, almost as if you're getting sucked into the couch. My brother and I used to fight over who had to sit there when watching TV downstairs. I usually made him do it. One day I had some friends over for a sleepover. I was on the couch. My buddies were on yoga mats on the floor. I felt a kick in the night, thought it was one of my buddies, and told him politely to fuck off. Another kick, right under my back. How is that possible? I got up, turned on the lamp, and my buddies were both passed out. I went back to the couch, took off the cushion and looked. Nothing. Get back on the couch, turn off lamp behind me, and try to go to sleep. It must have been only a few minutes when my one friend whispered who the other dude was when I turned on the light. I said, "What?" He said something like, "You turned on the lamp." I was pretending I was asleep because I thought it was your parents. I saw someone standing behind the couch. It wasn't your dad. We then all got freaked out, ran upstairs to my room, and slept in there instead of the basement. A few weeks later I get home from school and my dad is tossing the couch in the back of his pickup. I assumed he bought a new one, but no. He said he was sick of seeing it in his house because it was his dad's and his dad always used to rough him up when he was younger, usually by punching/poking him in the back where his shirt would hide the bruises. I've told this before, but hey, when I was a boy of 12 I had a dream that I was standing near a house that was on fire. There was a little girl there who was much younger than me, about 2 years old. I thought she was there alone, so I held her hand, hoping to find her parents. She was watching the firemen. Eventually, one of the firemen came over to me and, for some reason, told me that I would one day have 2 children, boy and girl twins, and they would be my only children. He then took the little girl's hand and she walked away with him. This dream felt like no other I'd ever had, and because of that, I was absolutely convinced that it was real. Many times in the years that followed I told people about the dream, or that I knew that one day I would be the father of boy/girl twins. Multiple people in my life have confirmed that I told them this. When I was 31 I got married. She gave birth to our boy/girl twins a few years later. Her father was the fire chief of the town I grew up in. It wasn't until my children were born that I made the connection about my wife's father being a fireman, nor the fact that she was 10 years younger than me. This probably has a rational explanation, but I never found out what it was. When I was 8, we lived in an apartment with very thin walls. I could hear the married couple having sex at night all the time. It always felt funny seeing them the next day. One day I was sick and stayed home from school, but my mom still had to go to work. So I just remained alone in my bedroom, watching cartoons. I was really nauseous and drifting in and out of sleep when I heard a tapping. Initially I ignored it, but the sound became rapid, more insistent. Tap 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 tap. I was too sick to care when a deep low voice said, "Hello." I froze in bed, believing a murderer broken in, and the voice was coming from inside the apartment. But it was coming from the other side of the wall. He said lots of things. I don't remember it all. Hello. I'd like to meet you. Tell me where you are. I had been throwing up in the toilet all day and couldn't take any more, so I didn't respond. I burrowed further into my sheets and tried to ignore the voice. When my mom came home she had Rocky Road ice cream because she felt sorry for me, and I was so excited about the ice cream I forgot to mention what happened. One night when I was a teenager, my whole family had gone to bed. It was around 11:30 or midnight. My bedroom door was open, and I had a clear view of the dining room table from my bedroom. Everything was quiet and the house was very dark, since all the lights were off, and we all suddenly heard the distinct sound of a kitchen chair scraping across the floor with some weight behind it, as if someone was sitting in it and scooted. Everyone was in bed and the dogs were accounted for. My eyes shot open and I was petrified with fear, and my dad got up and turned the lights on to see what it was. We still can't explain it. Lived in a pretty rural area. Forested with a small brook. Chickens out back. Garden in the front. Don't want to share a room with my little brother anymore. Get an old downstairs study turned into a bedroom. Very bad idea. Many years of creepy experiences that were all in my head from being on the bottom floor. 4 AM. Very dark. But doggo wants toilet. We don't have a door for him, so I have to let him out and wait and let him back in. Dog walks into pitch blackness of front garden. I stare at the dark shapes waiting for him to come back. Suddenly from the drive to the left, a man-shaped dark smudge starts walking into the garden, around the tree, through the garden and round to the back of the house. I'm fucking shitting myself. No sign of dog. Dog is German Shepherd Rottweiler crossbreed. Surely he would attack intruder? Waiting impatiently for dog. So scared. Mon dog. Scary figure is here somewhere. Don't wanna be indoor waiting. The figure appears again. Back the way it came. Yeah, alright, only Archivler action. It's my uncle. Dog returns. No bark cause he knew uncle. Uncle leaves without another word. Okay, so the next day I question as to why the fuck my uncle turns up at 4 AM at our house. Apparently he feeds the fucking chickens at 4 in the morning and has been doing it every night for years. The part that remains unexplained to this day to me is why on earth he did it. He retired early, so he had no work, and we lived way away, so why drive 2 hours in the middle of the night to feed the chickens? Why not just come in the day and say hello to his family? Weird as fuck. When I was a baby, me and my brother slept in the same room in an apartment with our pre-divorced parents. At certain times in the night, a shadow would go from the bathroom into my brother and I's room. It never really did anything bad, just walked around. Until one night, when I started crying, my mom came into our room and saw the shadow standing over me and reaching for me. She didn't like that, and so took us to local McDonald's. We soon moved out and haven't been there since. I had a bunch of memories that didn't fit. Like I remembered waiting at my grandpa's work for him to be finished, or futilely trying to shovel the snow near their place, or going to bed every night looking out over the field next to their place. No one ever talked about this though, so I was simply confused about it for quite a while. Turns out I did live with them when I was young, and for some reason everyone just assumed I would forget and preferred it that way. When my brother and I were kids, our mom and grandma left us in the car one day when they ran into the supermarket. There was an old looking car like a Lincoln or a Cadillac parked nearby. A man in a zoot suit type outfit with a feather in his hat like a cartoon pimp would wear got out and went around to the back. He opened his trunk and 2 ladies climbed out of the trunk. A white woman in a black dress and a black woman in a white dress. Both were formal looking dresses. The white woman saw us looking at her and stared at us. She kept staring at us for a minute. It was kind of an intense stare, but also empty at the same time. I remember feeling nervous, so I told my brother to look away. He asked me why, and I said just do it, and we both looked away. I have no idea, but I remember freaking out, and for some reason really didn't want the man to see us too. I kind of sunk down into the floor for a few minutes and they were gone. When I looked again, I asked my brother if he saw where they went, and he said they went in the store. We agreed that was weird. We told my mom when she got back, but she didn't believe it, and she and my grandma laughed. She said if anyone dressed like that was in the store she would have seen them. My brother and I have talked about it a few times since. He still remembers it clearly, and so do I, but he says he didn't feel scared like I did, just thought it was really strange. I still feel kind of weird when I think about it. When I was like 3 years old I used to tell my parents that Mr. Happy visited me at night. I have zero memory of ever being visited by someone at night, and whenever my dad tells the story he always mentions how badly it freaked him out lol. I can remember sitting in the hallway upstairs in my house when I was a kid and looking up and seeing 2 fully black people, shadow people I'd assume, run up the staircase in front of me into the bathroom. I followed and looked behind the shower curtain and nothing was there. Another day I was in the same hallway and glanced into my brother's room and seen a hand reach out from beside the doorway in the room behind the wall connected to the door, and it was motioning me to come with long old fingers. It was just one finger pointing up, bending for me to come. I got scared and ran downstairs. When I was little I had an imaginary friend for about 2 years. When my mom finally asked me what his name was, I told her it was Zinta. 2 weeks later we moved, and she didn't tell me, or my dad, until I was at least 11, that I was supposed to have a twin brother named Zinta. I looked through my old journals from when I was 7 or 8. I saw that I drew him with bluish skin, and a friend of mine told me that sometimes it means that either the person was drowned or never born. It really freaked me out. Especially the fact that I have no memory of it being real. I thought that they were just dreams, reactions. Scary stuff. Fact that I've lived into haunted houses doesn't help. Ooh, I have plenty of those. This one happened years upon years ago, either in my early teens or just before. We were walking through the hall of our house at night. I just ahead of my mother, and I realized that she had stopped following me. I turned around, and she was stood still, staring at me blankly, her eyes unfocused. I asked her what was going on. No response. She just stared dispassionately. I began to feel like a mouse in front of a fox. As an overwhelming sense of dread/terror began to sit in my stomach, I noticed that her eyes looked blank, emotionally dead, closed off, yet somehow piercing. She stared down at me in an indescribable fashion, almost like she were looking through me and couldn't really see me, but was still analyzing me and the environment all the same. I repeated my question and began to back away from my mother and her unnerving lack of expression. I informed her that she was scaring me and pleaded with her to please stop whatever she was doing. She seemed to focus on me then, but only just then. She spoke. She informed me in the oddest, deadest, emotionally blank, disinterested, quiet tone. Something like, "Don't worry, Mum is not here anymore." I don't remember what happened after that. In all likelihood I bolted up the stairs and to my bedroom, but to this day she claims to remember nothing of the incident, and I'm inclined to believe her. Sorry for my bad English. It was like 4 years ago. I was on a dream, but it was a horrible experience. I literally dreamt that I was sleeping. On the dream, I woke up and saw the clock, 2:01 a.m. I went to the kitchen, drank some water, and then went to bed. I woke up from the dream. I felt weird, but not freaked out. What I dreamed was exactly what I did some minutes ago. I checked the clock, 2:32 a.m. I went to sleep again, and I started to dream again, but this time, it was worse. In the dream I was literally watching myself, sleeping. I couldn't move. I couldn't control myself. Then, without my consent, I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and looked at the clock, 3:41 a.m. Then I walked to my room, with the knife on my hand. I knew exactly what was going to happen, but couldn't do anything. It was like I was watching someone else through his eyes, and before the worst thing could happen, I woke up, again. I was really freaked out, my heart was pumping hard, and I checked the clock again, 3:40 a.m. Riposting. When I was a kid, I had lots and lots of plushes. One of them was a talking Annie from Sesame Street that wasn't functioning properly. You had to absolutely bang it on a table for it to say, "I feel great." Our old house in my home country was housed with spirits, but not bad ones, or at least that's what my parents said. LMAO. I never witnessed or felt anything until this one time. When I was 8, I overheard my parents saying something along the lines that my Ernie plushie spoke every time they talked about my grandma. I got irrationally scared, which made my parents hide Ernie in a huge box along with my other unused plushes. One time when I was playing hide and seek, I was hiding with my childhood friend, Jay, in our spare room, where the box of plushes was. While we were hiding, I figured might as well tell him the story about the haunted Ernie and my just recently passed away grandma. In the middle of the story, we heard Ernie say, "I feel great," in the box on top of the shelf. There's no way that was moved. And even if it was somehow moved by gravity, you need to bang Ernie on the table to make it talk. We screamed and ran outside.